Most of the frustration, wasted time, aggravation, and likely negative reviews on Fiverr come from creating poorly thought out and executed gigs. Now, what does this mean? This means things you've never done before. This means things you don't like doing. This means things you're not good at doing. This means things that are confusing to buyers, that they don't understand what they're getting. I'll show you some examples from what I've had in terms of canceled orders. So canceled orders are often an indication of a poor quality gig. It's better to have 1 or 2 really good gigs than it is to have 10 poorly done, not well thought out gigs. Again, I made a mistake to start with. I created a lot of poorly done, not well thought out gigs that then people weren't happy with. So for example, I have a gig here, post your image for sale on 200 plus products. What I did, I took an image and put it on Cafe Press products. Sometimes you can only figure out if a gig is bad by trying it. I thought that seemed like a good idea, but then people didn't like that they couldn't actually have control over the sales. So I turned that gig off. It's nice. A simple solution when you make a gig people don't like and that they cancel orders and are frustrated with is just give up on it and try another one. You can only have so many gigs active. If you know right now that poorly created gigs are the reason why things get frustrating on Fiverr, then you can work to set up things in a way that works for you. So this translate any text I had was another example of a really poorly done gig because all I did is copy and paste the text straight from an auto translator in Google Translate. So obviously people weren't very happy with that. Same thing with create a question in Yahoo Answers and then answer it. Same thing with show your advertisement. Because these gigs were set up in a way where people would bring in a bunch of frustrations and expectations that would make the gig impossible to satisfy the customer. Your goal when you're selling is to satisfy the customer. So if you set up a gig like this one, show your advertisement on mobile devices, if you set it up in a way that people are likely to get frustrated with the results and where you don't like doing the work. I didn't like going in and making this gig because then, like here, when someone paid $35, it took a lot of work for me to go through and set everything up. If their ads didn't get approved, it ended up being a nightmare. So I created something I didn't like to do that didn't pay very well and that didn't satisfy the customer. So fortunately, you can learn pretty well from these canceled gigs, and then you can not have fear that if you make a bad gig, you can just turn it off and move on and make another one. All you need to do is make one good gig that people really like. And you can see right now the orders are all for the same gig. They're all for that, either the 90,000 Twitter followers or the 93,000. They're all for the same type of gig. So I've got one type of gig that works really well now. And then I don't need to go make a whole bunch of other gigs. I can just work this one gig consistently. So if you can avoid the biggest sources of pain and frustration on Fiverr, mainly just by being quick to edit, modify, close down, cancel, turn off a gig that's not working, you can save yourself a lot of time and frustration that I've went through on Fiverr.